What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Exact IT Solutions YouTube channel. My name is Brian. I'm here to bring you the latest in the cybersecurity news that we can bring you to keep you up to date on what the heck is going on out there with cybersecurity, cyber criminals, ransomware, all that stuff that plagues our technology today, what you can do about it, and how you can protect yourself. That's what this channel is dedicated to. So if you learn anything today, the only thing that we ask is that you would hit the like button for us. It helps other people find this content. And also you consider subscribing to our YouTube channel here. We don't do any ads. We don't bore you with boring ads and talks and things like that. We just ask that you hit the like button and you subscribe to the channel. That's the only fee that we charge for this. So there aren't a lot of new ransomware developments, at least on a high level or a massive scale. Last week's video covered a lot of those, and they're still kind of bleeding into this week. There are a couple that I'm going to cover today, but really today we're going to talk about how hackers are going after your clients and the clients that are involved in the ransomware attacks directly. When their data is stolen, and now the hackers are going directly after them for money. So that's a new twist in this that we're starting to see that's quite interesting. And then some other things that we're going to talk about is how North Korea is setting up what looks like legitimate cybersecurity companies, but they're not. They're actually North Korean hackers who are looking to do damage to your network. So we're going to get into that a little bit, and then and hackers are using a certain security suite to execute some attacks, and I'm going to get into that as well and why that is a little disturbing on a lot of different fronts, but for one main reason that I'm going to get into today. So that's about it. So let's jump in today's content. Let's go. All right, so today, here we are on April 6, 2021, doing my favorite search here where I type in ransomware in Google News. I switch over the settings to show me only the past 24 hours. It's typically how I find a lot of this stuff that I bring to you on the channel. And as I scroll through, not a ton of new stuff out there in the last 24 hours. I could probably pull it back to the last week, which I might do here in a second. But as you can see, Ziggy ransomware is still out there. Apparently they quit and refunded victims. I'm not real familiar with that story. This is actually a really good piece here by Iman Javers of CNBC. He actually had somebody who works for a cybersecurity consulting firm. They actually kind of followed them around and they talk about a ransomware incident response, and they kind of take you through it, which is kind of interesting. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I'd highly recommend checking that out and reading it. It's a very good article that he did. Just a lot of other news and stuff. This ransomware cleanup cost a Scottish agency $1.1 million, which is not, if you watch my other videos, you know that I talk about this all the time and how much it actually costs to clean this up on the back end. It's not just what you got to pay to clean up the ransom, what you got to pay the criminals to unlock your files. There's a whole slew of costs that are involved, and I talk about that in other videos, and I also talk about it in our video series that we're doing on how to hack-proof your business. So check out that video series. We have 2 videos up. We have a video that gets posted every Thursday. Check that video out. We got our 4th video, our 3rd video in the series, because we did an intro video. So it's actually the 3rd video that we're going to do on Thursday. Ransomware gangs are emailing customers to put more pressure on companies to pay. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. Ransomware attacks grew by 485% in 2020. Absolutely true. If you watch this channel, I talk about that all the time. interesting attack here. Ransomware attacks affects 750,000 personal touch patients. It's a home care center across the U.S. They were hit by ransomware. And then a couple other things. Dublin's college, university. And I don't see... schools are obviously something we talk about all the time. National College of Ireland. This goes on. And then I guess we could switch it to last week. Not a whole lot going on here. The big insurance company is obviously still dealing with their attack. I mentioned that in my video last Tuesday when we posted. Sophos links Mount Locker to Astro Locker ransomware, basically saying that these groups are closely related or closely using a very similar ransomware type software. Ransomware, Microsoft attacks are surging at the same time. A lot of different things coming in here, but we're seeing Fox Business report on this stuff. Not just the technical articles or the technical news sources, but we're also seeing this bleed over into mainstream media more and more often. And here's why. Let's get into what we're talking about here and what we're seeing. So hackers are actively abusing this security suite to execute attacks. Now, when the FBI comes out and basically says, hey, people, we are seeing a lot of activity around this particular event, and the event could be a vulnerability that's known. As you can see right here, patches for critical Fortinet vulnerabilities have been available for several years now. So what's going on is there's been an uptick in the level of activity that hackers are using to exploit vulnerabilities that are known in the Fortinet iOS. Now, Fortinet is a firewall. It's a piece of hardware that sits on your network, basically in front of the internet, and it is the filter that stops and allows traffic. It's the traffic cop for your network to allow traffic in and to allow traffic out. So think of a firewall that way. Fortinet is a brand, kind of like there's also like Cisco, Netgear, WatchGuard. There's a lot of other firewalls out there. Fortinet just happens to be a brand that is being used in this case that has multiple vulnerabilities. Now, the disturbing part is, and when I talk about this stuff, guys, think about this stuff around like the Microsoft Exchange vulnerability, where Microsoft released patches to fix the vulnerabilities within the Exchange server platform that hackers were able to use to deploy ransomware. This is the same thing. This is Fortinet put out patches to plug holes and back doors and things like that. And these have been out for many years. Some of them only maybe 6-7 months. Others have been around since 2018. And the statement put out by the government, the United States government, is the FBI and CISA, which is the Cybersecurity Department for the United States government, believes that the APT, which is Advanced Persistent Threat Actors, are likely exploiting these Fortinet 40OS vulnerabilities to gain access to multiple government, commercial, and technology services networks. They warn that in the joint advisory. And then it goes on to say, patch immediately. The agencies specifically point to 3 vulnerabilities tracked as CVE 2018 13379, CVE 2020 12812, and CVE 2019 5591. The agencies say that the hackers could exploit any or all of these vulnerabilities to gain access to secure networks. Fortinet has already issued patches to mitigate the threats arising from all the vulnerabilities. The agencies warn that cyber attackers are actively scanning the internet looking for systems that have not yet applied the patches to plug vulnerabilities. And here's how somebody can take this information and go use freely available tools to go figure out who in the world might have this particular vulnerability. And I'm going to quickly show you how I can do that. Easily accomplished with this website here called Shodan, right? You go over to Shodan, you type in the word Fortinet, right? So I go Fortinet, and then I just do a quick search, right? And let's say, you know what? I only want to go in the United States, and I don't really want to mess with the VPNs right now. I just want to see who has it exposed over the internet, probably through this 0089 port right here. Seems to be pretty popular. 541 seems to be another popular port. So we could poke around and check those out. So right now I got some web pages I could check out, right? So this one I'm going to give it a shot. My security software here might block this, but we'll see. Nope, got right to it. This is the Fortinet page. I don't know. I'd have to spend a little time on this, and I'm not going to do it on this video to figure out what version they have. But quite frankly, if any of these machines have a version that is not patched with one of the new patches, so if it's running old firmware or the person didn't patch it, I could exploit this using these tools very easily and get in and get control of the network. Now, if I go back to my Shodan, just in the United States alone, I have almost 2,500 targets, over 2,000 targets that I could try to start to exploit. You know, we take the country US out of there, and we just go for that port with the word Fortinet. And there's other ways I can find this stuff, folks. There's over almost 25,000 Fortinet devices on the internet exposed where I could try to exploit them using these known vulnerabilities. This is exactly why the FBI comes out and says, hey, there's a lot of attacks going on around this. Please, please, please make sure that you update your firmware on your devices and you update your devices so things cannot be used, these devices cannot be used to attack you or use them to attack other people. So it's very important, and it's very frustrating as a security professional to see all of these hacks go down because IT professionals just don't do the basic stuff of checking for new updates, understanding why the updates were put out and what they fix, and actually doing it. The fact that we're looking at an exploit, a CVE from 2018 that's still being actively exploited in the wild almost 3 years later is very, very concerning. And, it's concerning but not surprising because I see it all the time. So that's the deal with that. I hope you learned something there. There's the tool called Shodan. Use it wisely. This is not any kind of advice on hacking. These are just the tools that are available out there, and use them at your own risk, and hopefully you'll use them for good and not bad. So ransomware gangs are now emailing customers' victims to extort them. So now it wasn't enough to extort the business to not only encrypt their files, but then steal their data. And then after you steal their data, you're going to go, oh, we got your data and we're going to put it out here on the dark web if you don't pay us more money. Now they're looking at the data that they stole and they're going, oh, why don't we just call these people directly or email them directly and tell them that we're going to use their data for, we're going to release this information that we have. And I've actually talked about this in the past on this channel before, right? I've said, what if you're that CEO whose doctors records have been compromised, and now the world knows your medical history or knows you're being treated for something, or you're a business owner and you're trying to sell your business, and maybe you have a terminal illness that's going to prevent you from running the business. And maybe you don't want that to get out there for your family's sake, for your current company and employee's sake, or maybe the companies that are looking to buy you, and you don't want that to devalue what your company's worth because they know you need to sell. Things like that happen, folks. This stuff getting out there can be used against you, and it's not a good thing. Companies need to do a better job of protecting the data that they're entrusted with, because not only is it a problem for you and your company, but it's going to be a problem for your customers as well. And yes, it may show up in the news and you may have to deal with a public relations nightmare, but who the heck wants to deal with customers calling them saying that they're now being extorted and they don't feel good about it, and it's because of you, because you caused it? The mental anguish that somebody goes through when they're under extortion from a cyber criminal is not fun. It's very stressful. And I can see really good lawyers, firing up the wagons, getting ready to contact these victims and say, hey, all this pain and suffering and all this money that you have had to put out because of the time that you've had to deal with these emails and these messages and these phone calls from these criminals, yeah, that's not your fault. That's this company's fault over here. And you should join our class action lawsuit and we're going to go after them. So that's the reality. So they're sending out these ridiculous messages, broken English, good day. If you receive this letter, you are a customer, buyer, partner, or employee of Racetrack. Now, this is a gas station down in the southern part of the United States that got hit with ransomware. And now the hackers are basically going after all the victims, all the customers of Racetrack, and they're basically saying, they're kind of going about this a couple different ways. They really are grasping at straws here, in my opinion, to try to scare somebody into just handing them over money. If you do receive an email like this, I highly recommend don't do anything. Like, they seem scary, but just don't do anything. Ignore them. Delete the emails. Eventually they'll go away. If you do reply to them, if you do respond to them, they're going to kind of ratchet up the heat, so to speak, and they're going to contact you more, and they're going to be really annoying to try to get you scared and to make you feel vulnerable. Just ignore these people. Don't do anything with these messages. Don't reply to them. Delete them. These messages are a good reason why you don't want to have automatic download of images on your Outlook or your email reader, because you don't want these guys knowing that you're reading their email. If they can send you an email and it can show up on their side, like nobody's read this, it hasn't even been opened, that's better for you. The fact that you opened it and downloaded an image and they can see that you've downloaded it, that's not good. They know they got you. They know they've sent it to you, and they can continue to spam you and send you more messages. But these messages go on to say that, we have your data. We're going to release it on the web. The same tactic they use against the company who they stole the data from, now they're using it on the victims. And now they're basically saying, pay us. Now, this Clop ransomware group, they seem to be the ones that are kind of really taking the lead on this type of extortion. But the Revel group has caught on pretty quickly, and they're starting to do it as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in time, just like we saw with the Facebook hack on Monday, I guess it was a slow news day, so somebody decided to drum up a story on Facebook where previously stolen data was basically re-released into the regular web out of the dark web. So the data was already on the dark web. Just quickly, I'll go into what happened on Monday with Facebook. The data was already on the dark web. Somebody decided to take it and then just move it to a searchable database on the regular web and put it up for sale. And for some reason, that became a news story. So similar to that, these guys are going to pour this data from the dark web to the regular web so it's more easily viewable to people, so they can basically prove to them that they have it. It's another tactic that they use to kind of make people think that they have more information on them than what meets the eye and things like that. So there's all kinds of scare tactics and stuff that go on behind this stuff. It's, quite frankly, annoying, disturbing, and all the bad things that I want to say about these guys that I just don't like and think that they're just morons for this is what they wake up and do every day. But it is what it is. So these ransomware gangs are extorting the end users, which is a lot of fun. And if you need help with this, hit us up. Throw us a message in the comments. Tell us you're dealing with some ransomware group emailing you and trying to extort you. I'll send my team in to help you. It's just ridiculous that any one person would have to deal with this stuff. And then moving right along, North Korea-backed group sets up fake security company, Google says. So threat actors working on behalf of North Korea posed as security researchers on social media in a campaign to compromise employees of security companies, according to Google report. The threat actors' ability and willingness to go after security researchers only shows how serious the campaign really was. It's not a common occurrence in the cybersecurity world, making the campaign all the more interesting. So Google identified a campaign targeting security researchers working on vulnerability research when they attributed to a group working for North Korea. The attackers set up a blog, fake contacts, and Twitter profiles, then posted videos and used social media to amplify their work. Now the group is back, but this time they set up a fake company named Security Elite located in Turkey, and the primary modus operandi is similar, with the attackers going after the same types of targets. The website claims the company is an offensive security company located in Turkey that offers pen tests, security software assessments, and exploits. Like previous websites we've seen set up by this actor, the website has a link to their PGP public key at the bottom of the page. In January, targeted researchers reported that the PGP key hosted on the attacker's blog acted as the lure to visit the site where the browser exploit was waiting to be triggered, he explained. At this time, the group has set up a few fake LinkedIn profiles and tried to establish a legitimate company. The attackers have yet to deploy any malicious content, but Google informed LinkedIn of the fake profiles. In the previous campaign, their primary attack vector was Internet Explorer 0 day, which likely means they have others ready to use. So here's the deal. You got to watch who you're working with. I mean, that goes without saying, right? But there are a lot of cybersecurity companies out there that are cropping up all over the place. And again, cybersecurity is an unregulated industry, just like managed service providers, just like IT providers. There's no there's no body that oversees what these companies do. Nobody hands a license to a cybersecurity company and says this is a legitimate cybersecurity company. There's no one out there to do that. And not only that, it's really on the cybersecurity company whether or not they go out and hire and attain the right education and experience around here to do an effective job for you and your company. Anybody can call themselves a cybersecurity company. All they need to do is create business cards and brochures and flyers and hang up a sign that says they're a cybersecurity company. And they're a cybersecurity company. Oh yeah, and build a website. And then as you as the consumer, you're searching for a cybersecurity company on Google, you go to what looks like a legitimate cybersecurity company. They got pictures of blogs or of hackers. They got, probably some black and some green backgrounds, a dark website, and make them look like a legitimate cybersecurity company. Give you that feeling that you're on, CSI, and they're doing all this crazy stuff behind the scenes. And that's just not the case. Cybersecurity companies, the good ones anyway, are generally pretty boring. It's a lot of report writing and stuff like that. It's not real exciting stuff. So your first red flag should be, if you feel like you just walked into a Hollywood studio when you went to your cybersecurity company's website, that's a big deal. And then besides that, these fake companies that say they do all this pen testing and all this stuff, right? So we just had a client of ours who hired a third-party company to do a pen test, a software pen test for a software program that they wrote. I started asking questions about who this company is, where they're located, what are their credentials, so I could look into them and start figuring out who this company was, because the reality of it is you have to give the access to your network to these companies in order for them to do the job that they're going to do for you. They can't do it without it. So you could be in a situation like you see in this article where you just hired a North Korean company to do your cybersecurity, and they're not a cybersecurity company at all, to do your pen test, and they're not a cybersecurity company at all. They're just looking to get a foothold into your network. And you know what? They might put the foothold in, and they might give you legitimate reports and do a legitimate pen test on your stuff. But at the same time, they're putting a back door in so they can get in later and do damage and deploy ransomware and things like that. So this stuff is coming from all sides, folks. There are criminals out there that recognize that there is money to be made right now with the weakness that businesses have around cybersecurity. And I just given you 3 examples today of how they're using it and how they're doing things without the traditional ways of hacking that people think of, right? We talked about North Koreans posing as legitimate cybersecurity companies. We talked about ransomware gangs going after your companies directly. And we're talking about hackers going after really, really, really old exploits that have been around for a while. And they're just basically preying on the laziness of most IT professionals and most companies when it comes to cybersecurity. And that's the reality of where we're at today, folks. Things need to get better. The good news is they can only get better by going up, we hope. But there are ways to do this stuff the right way. There are ways to secure your company and not end up in the news and not end up being one of these guys. And there are ways to deploy awareness training. So you're building that culture of security in your company. So when somebody thinks of hiring a pen testing company to do some work in your company, they're not just hiring anybody. They're not just going out there and trying to find the cheapest price, right? They're vetting, they understand, or they're working with somebody that can help them choose the right provider, like a company like us at Exact IT, where we can help you find the right pen testing company. If we're not your cybersecurity company, we can do the pen test for you. But if we're your cybersecurity company, we got to find a third party to do it because we can't self-certify ourselves, so to speak. So I hope this helped everybody. If you learned something, please hit the like button. It helps other people find this content. And please drop some comments in the comment section below. We love reading them. Some of them make us laugh, some of them make us cry, and some of them are just legitimate questions that we love to answer for you. So that's it for me today, folks. Please check out our video on Thursday with our video series of how to hack-proof your company. We're releasing video number 4 this Thursday, and you'll be able to watch those forever and ever. They'll be out there as long as the channel's around. Remember to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you real soon. Take care, everybody.